Chapter 6, Part 5. By now, some of the German soldiers were broken too. A few of the guards started talking to us, talking as if the events of the last few months had never happened. They started to tell us that the war was coming to an end and Germany was going to lose. They told us that we would soon be free. They had heard other camps, like Belsen, had been liberated, freed. They said they would be arrested. I'm sure they wanted our sympathy, our help. They were scared. It was not until April that the day we had prayed for finally came. British troops arrived at the gate. The SS did not put up a fight. Our liberators greeted us with not smiles, but with shock and horror. They stared at us, they vomited and they gagged. Those of us who could sat up and watched them. We didn't have the strength to be elated. They recorded the scenes on old cinefilm. It's even on YouTube now, I've heard. I've never had any urge to look. It's still crystal clear in my mind even now. The scenes were abhorrent, disgusting, disgraceful, evil. There are no words to describe this hell on earth. Whatever they had been expecting, whatever they had imagined, could not have been anywhere near as bad as the reality. I remember their arrival vividly. I was sat on a log near one of the huts. There was a corpse lying not 6 feet away from me, and I barely gave it a thought. A British soldier approached me. He was in tears. He spoke to me, but I didn't understand his accent or his language. My English was passable even then, but I couldn't understand him. I tried to smile at him, but I couldn't even do that. He gave me his water bottle, and all I could muster was a blink to thank him. He wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and scooped me up like a baby in his arms. I can't have weighed more than 6 stone at that point. I was dying. He carried me to what I now know was the Red Cross tent, set up just outside the camp gates. He placed me down on a bed, and within seconds I was asleep. I slept, uninterrupted, for the first time in 10 years. It was me who insisted on a break now. I didn't give Daniel a choice. I needed it. I went to his kitchen to make a cup of tea for us both. I wanted him to take a break. By the time I returned, he was sat up straight. He wanted to go on. He thanked me for listening. I thanked him for sharing. And then he continued. It took a long time to recover. Physically, I mean. Mentally, I don't believe I or anyone who lived through that ever will. And they won't forget, and nor should they. I'm an old man now. The years since the war have been kind to me. I feel guilty. Why should I get to enjoy a life when so many others like me did not? The demise of Hitler and the end of the war came soon after liberation, but that was just a sideshow for me by then. I wasn't really aware of what was happening away from Bergen-Belsen. The nurses and doctors told me I was suffering from dysentery and, more worryingly, tuberculosis. The extent of the damage was going to take weeks to diagnose, and recovery was only a slim possibility in my state. But I was determined to make it after years of struggle and oppression. My body was a wreck, but they clearly thought I was worth saving. I was just about to turn 17 in September 1945. I still had my whole life in front of me, but recovery would take much, if not all of that time. The Red Cross moved me to a mobile hospital in a nearby town. The British medics were first class. They really cared for me. Slowly, over weeks, then months, I gained in weight and strength. That's when I started to help out in the ward with menial tasks such as cleaning or making beds. I wanted to give something back. My English improved rapidly. I even developed a bit of a Scouse accent from the chaps I worked alongside. I had nowhere else to go, and the staff were happy to have me, even when I was considered healthy enough to leave. I approached the orderly and asked if there were any positions within the Red Cross. There was not much paperwork needed to enrol me into the team, and as a volunteer I did not require payment, which made it an easy decision for them, I'm sure. I was housed and well fed, and I asked for nothing more. After liberation, the camp was closed. The remaining bodies were buried or cremated, and much of the site was demolished or burnt to the ground. The British used a nearby German military school to set up a displaced persons camp, or DCP for short. So many people had nowhere to go. They did not know if any of their family members had survived, and they did not have any idea of where to go next or what to do, myself included. I continued to work for the Red Cross, and I also spent a great deal of time at the DPC. At work, I could keep myself busy. I could learn English and help others, but away from the hospital, I felt lost and alone. 7 long years since my own family were captured, I had nothing. No family, no home, no identity. It was shortly after this, sometime in summer 1947, I think, that I met Ernie. I sat bolt upright at this. It took me by surprise. I was fascinated by Daniel, and for large parts of the afternoon I forgot why I was even there. He captivated me, but the name brought me back to the present. I focused on my job again. I hadn't asked any questions up to this point, but I had to ask him now. You met Ernie in Germany? Ernie Grimshaw? He considered his reply before adding, Paul, it's important I tell you all of this. It's important you know my background. It's important you knew what happened to me as a child. It was vital for Ernie to know this too, because I wouldn't be here today if Ernie had not studied my life and my past. I couldn't help myself again. I blurted out, So this is when you took Ernie's identity? He replied, smiling for the first time since we had sat down together. I think you may have misunderstood, Paul. It was not me who took Ernie's identity. He took mine.